everybody, it's Kim back again. So I just wanted to say about the two things that you need to do in order to start to feel better. Number one is that you need to accept that where you are right now is not working for you. You know, you need to realise that actually where you are maybe might not be in the best place. And it might not be around your eating disorder, but you know, for any of you that are watching that maybe have kind of like have joined because they're sort of like parents of somebody with an eating disorder, etc. You maybe have anxiety, but I'm kind of like talking about everybody with any sort of issues, and that you need to be in the position to accept that actually things aren't going that great for you right now. And the second thing is you need to try something different. You know, you can't keep doing the same thing expecting a different outcome. You know, you have to try things, and if they don't work out, that's okay. Then, because you just put that down to experience, you kind of pat yourself on the back, be proud of yourself that you tried something, and it might be that actually it's something that's just not right for you at that time. You know, it might be something that you kind of come back to later that actually helps you. So that's the things, you need to accept that you want things to change, and you need to try and do something different. And just to kind of like explain, if there's anybody that's watching that doesn't know my background, basically I struggled with anorexia and bulimia myself. And, you know, I got to the point where it had got that bad that I struggled. I was sort of seeing somebody weekly. And it got to the point where, you know, I'd go in and I'd have this session, and I just would tell them everything that I thought that they wanted to know, so that they would be happy, you know, people pleasing, make sure that they feel okay, that they're doing a good job. But I was just going to go away and do the same old thing, because every time I tried, you know, they'd say, just eat a little bit more, just try this or just try that. And it just felt that every time I tried, it would just, apart from kind of like the anxiety, the fear beforehand in trying this, afterwards the whole wave of emotions that would hit me, the guilt, the fear of the scales, the fear of everything, the voice in your head, telling you, even for eating an extra apple, you know, that you were doomed and you were off to hell, and that you were going to be sort of 20 stone when you stood on the scale the next morning. Absolutely would go nuts. And in the end, you know, so I struggled to kind of like do these things, because every time I did, you know, I had these kind of these thoughts, these emotions that went through me, and that in itself brought on a binge, and that was worse, you know, to me than anything. You know, that seriously felt like you were totally out of control, you know, and then I'd sort of have to start panicking and then try and get rid of it, etc., etc. And it's just, and then you'd start restricting again, which would lead to a binge. And I just thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore. No matter what you tell me, I cannot physically go home and try these things that you're putting in place, because it's making my life hell. You know, it feels worse. And I gave up trying, and I just, you know, decided that I was just going to restrict, and that's all I was going to do. And I wasn't going to try, you know, sort of like doing these suggestions anymore. And that made me feel more in control. It didn't help me, but kind of like making that decision was as a result of trying. And I didn't know how to get out of it. You know, how do you, when you're in that position, how do you get out of that? Well, basically, I mean, I ended up in a residential eating disorder centre, and I was there for sort of 4 months. And although I came out a healthier weight, my mindset was still really the same. I still had the same thoughts, I still had the same urges, I still wanted to go back. And although, you know, I knew that that didn't take me to a happy place, etc., and I definitely wasn't happy, then there was still that voice in my head telling me that right now you've got control again, you can do this. But when I went into residential, it was kind of like, although I was scared witless, there was almost a part of me that felt relieved, because it was almost like somebody else was fighting the voice in my head when I didn't feel strong enough to do that. It was almost like, you know, somebody was giving me permission to eat, to saying that I had to, and I had to follow that instead of the voice in my head. So yeah, and also it felt safe knowing that I couldn't binge. You know, if I ate something, I could not binge, and that there was an element of safety in that for me, even though part of me was screaming that I didn't want to go in there. And so, like I said, I still had those kind of like strong mind sort of like set when I came out. I still had those same desires and urges to go back. And it was then that I learnt EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques tapping, and it really transformed my life, really sort of turned things around for me. And I was able to see myself, my life and my past in a different way, totally different way. You know, and I could see things made a lot more sense when I wasn't kind of like blaming the past and thinking that, you know, I'd, you know, been subjected to this and that person had done this to me, and because of that this had happened and that's why I felt like this, which is completely normal and it's completely natural, and let's face it, nobody tells us really any different to that. But it's when I kind of like started changing how I saw things and saw the world, that's when I was able to let go of my past, and then sort of like I became far more confident, I became far more positive, and I felt good enough, you know, which I know is a real struggle for a lot of people, and that's probably one of the most common negative beliefs that I have with when working with clients, is that the feeling of not being good enough. And there's always reasons for it. There's always stuff in our past that's gone on that we kind of like make us feel like that. You know, but I started seeing things in different ways. And like I said, it totally transformed my life, and that is the thing really that helped me recover. It so helped me, you know, feel better about myself, like myself, feel okay in my own skin and in my own mind. It really did, really sort of change things around. And so much so that then after a while I became an EFT practitioner. I went and I qualified, and then I worked with people with anxiety, depression, phobias, dyslexia, addiction, so people with drug and alcohol issues, various different issues I worked with clients on. And then I decided that I was going to work with women with eating disorders, and particularly anorexia, because obviously that's sort of like where I feel that I can help most. And I was thinking to myself before I kind of went ahead with this, you know, I went into residential, and that's not an option for everybody, and like I said, it's a really scary thing to do, even though it can be positive and you get the help and support that you need. So I was thinking, well, what could I do as an alternative? What would have helped me? And my kind of take on was, and I've basically developed, and if you see my posts on a Sunday, you'll see every sort of Sunday I post a thing that says I do a 12-week complete support package. And that was my idea of the best way of helping that I knew. And that is, sort of like weekly sessions with me for 12 weeks. Because do you know what? It's not easy. It's not easy to get rid of the voice in your head that is telling you that you're the most hateful person going, and you absolutely despise yourself. It's not easy to just switch that off, and I wish I had a magic wand, but I don't, and nobody does. So 12 weeks is a kind of like a foundation that is what is needed in order to do the work to really sort of like make a difference, and in a couple of weeks my clients start to really sort of like notice how differently they feel, and they go from feeling so negative to actually kind of like feeling quite neutral, which is a real step after like 20 years maybe of feeling so negative and waking up feeling really anxious, etc. So and then obviously they kind of like increase and feel more positive as they go along, which is great to see, and I feel very privileged to be part of that journey and to be able to witness that. And so it's the 12 weeks because that's what the foundation work that is needed. I've read reports and seen sort of like doctors and medical people and stuff, and they said that recovery can take years. You're looking at years rather than months. So to make such progress within 12 weeks, I think is pretty phenomenal. So it's basically like I said, the 12 weeks. In with that, you get worksheets, you get videos, you get homework to do, various other things, and it's sort of like, and not only is it weekly sessions with me, and we can do that face to face or we do that via Skype, but not only that, the thing that really kind of like that I felt would be of benefit, and actually is really of benefit to my clients, is that every day I contact you. And I basically am reaching out and just asking you how things are going. I, kind of remind you of, sort of like what work that you need to do. I'm there kind of like, just checking in with you, and this is your opportunity, and it's almost to remind you that I'm there, that I'm kind of around, and, that nobody's forgotten about you, and you're not kind of like, you don't feel like you're left on your own. Like I said, sort of like before, when I was going to weekly sessions, felt like I had the whole week, all by myself, and then I'd have this kind of like 1 hour, and then it'd be a whole week again. So this is about just kind of like keeping in regular contact, making sure that you're okay, and asking if you need further support. And this is where the complete support comes into, and often, sort of like when people ask me, what do I charge? It's not kind of like, it's not really cheap. But I always, when I was sort of, before I went into residential, I was in such a desperate space, and I couldn't access the help that I felt that I needed. When I was waiting on, sort of waiting lists and things like this. And like I said, I'd resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't going to try anymore. And my weight was deteriorating, I was getting worse, and my head was getting even more screwed up. I was in a desperate place. And so actually I started looking at, private residential care. And that was sort of like tens of thousands a month. And but you know what? I would have done it. I was very near to, I was very near to making the decision to sell my house. So for me, sort of like what I charge doesn't seem that much at all, because, this is kind of like getting your life back. This is turning your life around. This is transforming your life from what can be a hugely negative place like I was, and transforming that into something that's a whole lot more positive. So yeah, and my, and like I said, mine was very much a place of torture. And so, being able to get out of that meant the whole world to me. So, yeah, so like I said, and then the other thing is that people ask me, why do I have to sign up to a 12-week complete support package? Why can't I just, oh, hi Charlotte, nice to have you on. Good to have you on. I'm just talking about, I'm nearly wrapped up for this, but I will come back to you. And if you have any questions for me, Charlotte, have a think about them and put them in the comments now if you'd like to share anything or ask me anything, just while I'm looking good. Do you know what? I'm loving it. The sun has been out today. I've been sat in the garden just a little bit, and yeah, got a bit of a tan going on, so I love that. I love my sun. So people ask me, why do I have to sign up for the 12-week package? Why can't I just do kind of like weekly sessions and etc. And like I said, why does it cost as sort of like as much as it does? Well, basically, I've tried to do the weekly sessions, but like I said to you earlier, it's really hard. It's not easy in kind of like letting go of anorexia, or an eating disorder, etc. It's very complex. We kind of, although there's a part of us that, wants to be free of this, there's other part that's holding on for dear life, so scared of letting it go. And that can't be just kind of like changed like that. So, and the thing with offering weekly sessions is that, often you kind of like, it's not that nice, is it? Kind of, going, I try and be as pleasant and as lovely in my sessions as possible. And, and me and my clients, we have a great rapport, and, and I'm very sort of non-judgmental. I'm full of empathy, and there's nothing that anybody can ever say to me that I would judge them on at all. And, there's no kind of like justification needed. I get it. I totally get it. And my clients appreciate that. But it is difficult, going to sessions and talking about things and that, even though I use really gentle techniques, etc. You have to kind of like get over some sort of like anxiety, particularly at the start, in kind of like going over everything. And so often signing up for this means that you are fully committed, you are fully motivated, and I don't know about you, but I've seen this in myself and in people that I've worked with. And if you get something for free, or if you get something cheap, you don't value it. You don't do the work. You don't do the work and put in the effort that is required. And so, and I've had people literally, have a session with me booked, and an hour before they'll go, I'm really sorry, I can't, I can't do it. Or they'll sort of say, I can't do this, and, I need to cancel because of this or whatever. And But the ones that sign up to the package, they're fully committed, they're fully motivated, they've already paid, so they put the effort in, they do the work. And that is what I want. I want people who are, no matter how blooming scared they are, I want people to be motivated. I want them to be committed, because that's the way they're going to win this battle. It really is. And I know it's hard, and you know, it might sound like I'm being very blasé in how I say this, but I know how hard it is. And like I said to you, I tried to figure out the best way possible that I know that would help, and this seems to be it. Yeah, was there anything else I was going to say? Oh yeah, so, and the other thing, the final thing was about, you know, this is complete support. So I do literally kind of like hold your hand and stuff throughout the whole thing. And like I said, I get in contact with you every day. And I've had a few clients who have sort of like struggled, just sort of like, you know, particularly in the earlier kind of couple of weeks and things. And they've had sort of like instances where, I don't know, maybe they've come back from a social occasion and stuff, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and they've kind of like texted me to say, look, I'm really feeling, you know, really bad, and, you know, maybe we've gone out for dinner and stuff, and I'm feeling really guilty, and you know, these sorts of things. And you know, and obviously I kind of, you know, quite a bit of a night owl in that. I don't go to bed pretty easy. And if I'm, you know, if I am awake and I'm around and things like that, then I will answer. And, you know, so out of hours. So I'm not, you know, and I don't know anybody, unless you were to stay at somewhere residential. I'm not necessarily sure of, you know, other kind of people that give that kind of like type of support for those sort of like hours. So yeah, so, and obviously that complete support that is available to you, it's so much more than, you know, a weekly session. So much more. You know, you get as much support as you need. And some of my clients need more than others, and that's okay. But it just kind of like gives you that opportunity to be able, because sometimes, you know, it's hard to ask, isn't it, as well? So almost, you know, you feel like you've paid for it, so you're gonna, you know, be more willing to access that help. And again, it's just a mindset thing, but it helps my clients think that way. So that's why I do that. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that's sort of, you know, giving you some insight into why I've kind of developed the 12-week complete support package, and what it's all about, and why I kind of why it helps my clients so much. If you have any questions, Charlotte, I'm not sure whether you're still on, my love. If you have any questions, yeah, you say beautiful weather. It's been gorgeous today. I'm hoping it's gonna stay for at least a couple of days, which would be lovely. So yes, so Charlotte, if you are on and you have any questions, please pop it into the sort of comments box. But otherwise, if you haven't, then I will bid you good evening. And please, Charlotte, you know, sort of feel free to watch the replay. And I do hope you're okay. And I'm on in the group tomorrow actually it's supposed to be 12 o'clock, but actually I'll give you the heads up, it's probably going to be a bit before that, because I've got a client at 12. So tomorrow it's usually 12 o'clock in the group, but tomorrow it's Thursdays is usually 12 o'clock in the group, but tomorrow it's going to be a bit earlier, probably more towards 11:30, just so it gives me time to get back for my client. So okay, well, thank you for watching. If you're watching on the replay and you have any questions, you want to get in touch, please do so either by in the post below, or you can feel free to message me or email me or give me a call. All right, great to talk to you. Take care. Speak to you soon. Lots of love. Bye.